Thanks for the great introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my session in GOTO Berlin. My name is Boaz Ziniman. I'm a technical evangelist with AWS, coming to Berlin from Tel Aviv, Israel. And I'm going to do a session about languages and about the challenge of languages. And let's do a short raise of hands. So I assume if you are in this session and listening to me, you all speak English, right? Or understand English at least. German? A lot, yeah. I would assume that in Berlin. But let's see other languages. Russian. Polish. Japanese. Nice, one. Chinese. How many languages do you know? A lot. OK, so this is a relatively small room, not a huge audience, and see how many languages people here are speaking. And the fact that there are so many people in the world speaking different languages is a huge challenge for a lot of companies. And in this session, I'm going to talk to you today about some services we provide for developers, and this is very important to say at the beginning. This is a session for developers. It's not a session for machine learning experts, data scientists, researchers. This is for people that know how to write code, know how to use code, and would like to integrate those services into their solutions. And the services we're going to talk about are covering all different solutions that are related to language. And natural language processing is a discipline that has a lot of different options and a lot of different tools you can use with. You can use things like automatic speech recognition, when you're taking a sentence and you actually can break it to different parts and then use natural language understanding to understand what people are saying inside those different parts of the sentence. Text-to-speech is a great service as well that we're going to talk about, and of course, translation. And this entire NLP capabilities changed a lot in the last few years. So if you're talking about the beginning of the area of 2010, NLP accuracy was around 70%. And 70% is simply not good enough to build reliable applications, to build tools that will be able to replace humans in terms of understanding other people's, understanding other languages, even doing translation. And as you can see in the last few years, this jumped really, really quick because of the advance of other AI disciplines. And today we are talking about 95% accuracy. And 95% accuracy is actually pretty good. And you'll see in a lot of these examples, yeah, they might not be perfect and they are not getting all the nuances and there might be glitches here and there, but it's good enough for many use cases to start using it in our applications. And by doing that, get to new audience, get to new people so they can start using your solutions. One of the best examples I have is probably this one. Who owns an Amazon Alexa? More than one? Yeah, most of the people that owns one buying more and more. So we are using a lot of those capabilities and a lot of those tools with Alexa devices. And we actually take some of the technology we're developing for those devices and then implementing it in the services I'm going to talk about today, and vice versa. We're taking some of the things we are developing for developers and allow them to build skills much better. So today, there are tons of skills for Alexa, all kinds of skills, from booking an Uber, booking a pizza, checking your United miles balance, or ask Alexa to bark like a dog. I don't know why, but there is a skill for that. Somebody is doing that. And today, there are more than 100,000 different skills for Alexa. And people are using it for many different things. I use it as my IoT automation at home, turning on lights, air conditioning, shades, and stuff like that, traffic, asking questions, ordering things. And this is all done by language, and by different languages, by the way. I know Alexa is available in Germany, in German, and in some other locations. And there are many other use cases for language tools or language solutions. So we can talk about things like education. Anybody who is using Duolingo? I assume that will never happen to me that I ask about Duolingo and nobody raised his hand. So Duolingo is a software to learn new languages, and they're using a lot of AI services to record or to generate those sentences that you're repeating over and over again as part of their application. They used to take actors to do that. Now they're using one of our services. We can see things like customer services and call centers. We're actually going to do a demo with a call center. I'm going to call my own call center. I'm going to show you a few things about it. Personalization, localization is very, very important. I'm going to give you a few examples for many of those different use cases. So as you can see, we actually have a lot of things that we as developers can add to our application, add to our solutions, and make them more accessible, make them more interesting to more people. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. So if I'm a developer and I would like to introduce some of those capabilities into my application, I have many different ways to do it. And the different ways are described on this slide that includes the entire stack of Amazon machine learning services. And this is a big stack. This is a stack that includes different solutions for different type of developers, data scientists, engineers. And basically, you can start from the bottom, taking one of our machine learning frameworks and the infrastructure we provide for that, and build your own solution from scratch. So if you have the knowledge, if you have the capabilities, the tools, the data, which sometimes this is the biggest issue, you can take this and build your own solution running on the latest and greatest frameworks and the most advanced hardware you can find by the same models you're using AWS for anything else, pay by the hour, pay for what you use. This is one solution. This is the first layer of our machine learning stack. The second layer is our machine learning services, and in those services, we help you to build your own solution by using some of our services like Amazon SageMaker. And Amazon SageMaker is a service that will take your entire machine learning process, will break it to different parts, and will allow you to start those parts much easily if it's from creating your data, training data, and running your own model. And you can basically mix and match any part you want, but still you're building your own solution. You might use pre-trained models and pre-written notebooks, which will make the process much simpler and much shorter, but you need to know what you're doing in terms of machine learning. What I want to focus today is the top layer. The top layer is called AI services. And the basic idea of this layer is that we're taking capabilities, machine learning capabilities, packing them into a service and allow any developer that can write code in many different languages, we support different languages with our SDKs, to integrate those services with just few lines of code into their application. The idea is to provide you the service that you can integrate into your code in a very simple way, in a very predictable way, usually 3-4 lines of code, depends on the language you're writing. If it's Java, it's usually more, but this is Java. Everything is longer in Java. And then you can use those services, and we constantly improving them without you changing anything. So for example, if we introduced a service with 3 languages and suddenly there is a 5th language, it's available for you out of the box. You just need to change your interfaces to add the capability of this new language. You don't need to change anything else. So there are a lot of these services. There are services that are targeted for vision, everything related to image recognition, video recognition, extracting text. There are services that are targeted for forecasting and recommendation. In our session today, we are going to focus on these 5. We're going to focus on the speech, language, and chatbot services, which will allow you to break language barriers. That's the idea of the entire session, right? So let's start and talk about the different services and what you can do with each one of them. First one I want to talk about, called Amazon Polly. Amazon Polly is our text-to-speech engine. It will allow you to integrate an engine that will take any text and convert it into a sound file. It's available in 29 languages, and it will sound something like that.
Today in Seattle, Washington, it's 11 degrees Fahrenheit.
So this was generated by Polly. I sent Polly the text on the left and got the sound file on the right. As you can see, Polly can actually understand the difference between how you write something and how it should be said. Like WA was translated to Washington, 11 circle F was translated to 11 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is how it works. Here's another example.
Genießt ihr den Rest des Tages?
Okay, how was my German? Pretty good, right? Not so good, sorry. I have no idea what was said here. I'm going to do some more examples, but you can basically use any of the 29 languages. Each language is coming with several voices. So you usually have a female and male voice, and in some languages there are more than one. Somebody wants to guess what's the name of the male speaker in German? Hans. Makes sense, right? So this is the basic operation mode of Poly. Get the text, send it to the API, and get a sound file back. Now, if you want to do some more advanced things, like giving instructions to Poly how to pronounce something, how to say something, you can use something called SSML. SSML is a markup language that provides some instructions to Poly how to say things in a very specific way. So in this specific case, this is an SSML that I ask Poly to spell my name instead of saying that. I'm going to show you later on what's happening when I ask Poly to say my name, but this is how it's going to sound for this one.
The spelling of my name is B-O-A-Z.
Okay, so I wrapped Boaz, my name, with characters, and now it's going to be spelled. Here's another example.
Richard's number is 2,125,550,123.
Funny, right? Good luck calling Richard. Now, if I'm going to wrap it with telephone, it's going to sound completely different.
Richard's number is 212-555-0123.
Makes much more sense. So there are a lot of different tags that you can do and a lot of different combinations. And actually, what you were hearing up until now is our previous version of Poly that is called the Poly Standard. And several weeks ago, we introduced a new version, which is using neural text-to-speech. So let me just explain you really quick the difference between standard and neural. So when you're taking a sentence today, you're basically breaking the sentence to its different parts, and then creating the voice for each part of the sentence, and then stitching it back. This is how the standard used to work. And you're basically getting a stitched sentence from different voice parts. It's the same voice, not like IVR systems several years ago when each voice was something else, but it's the same idea. Now, today, when we're starting to use the new one, the neural text-to-speech, we're basically using a neural network. And the neural network will produce the sound for us, which will give us a much higher quality, and I'm going to give you an example in a second. You have the option to use both today, standard and neural. Neural is giving much better results, so if you are using Poly, if you're planning to use Poly, I encourage you to check the new solution. Here is an example. So this is standard. Listen carefully.
Hi. My name is Boaz, and I will be your host today during this Innovate Online session.
Okay, so that was standard. Boaz was pronounced terribly, by the way. This is the new neural.
Hi, my name is Boaz, and I will be your host today during this Innovate Online session.
Can you spot the difference? Absolutely, right? And now with neural, we can introduce new features. One of the features we introduced is style. So you can add styles to your voices. And the first one we introduced, the only one that is available for now, called Newscaster. And this is how the same sentence is going to be played with Newscaster style.
Hi, my name is Boaz, and I will be your host today during this Innovate Online session.
Nice, right? Yeah, people are already doing like this, because this sounds more human. This sounds like somebody is reading the news. And actually, reading the news, the Washington Post, one of our customers, took this idea of Poly text-to-speech, and now they integrated an option to listen to articles on the Washington Post instead of reading them. So if you are driving or jogging or can't read or not able to read, doesn't matter what the reason is, you're clicking a button and you can listen to the article on the Washington Post. And the integration is super simple. Each time they're posting a new article with the content management system, there is an API call that takes the entire text, translate it, send it to, sending it to Poly, getting an MP3 file back, saving it somewhere, and just connecting a button to this newly generated MP3 file. You can reuse files generated by Poly. You don't need to do an API call for every request. You can just save the outcome. It's MP3 or OGG or WAV, and just replay it over and over again. And the usage is super simple. I'm going to show you some examples in code for usage of other services, but the same principles are working for all the services I just showed you. So that was Poly. Let's switch to the next one. And the next one is the exact opposite of Poly, and it's called Amazon Transcribe. So Amazon Transcribe will take your sound file and will transcribe it into text. So you can take any sound file, send it to the Transcribe service, and get an automatic transcription. Some of the features of Transcribe are super interesting, like, for example, speaker identification. So if there are several speakers in the conversation, you will know how to identify those speakers. You can do channel identification, so in a lot of interviews in call centers, recording of different people is happening in different channels. So it will be able to say, this is happening on channel 1, this is happening on channel 2. You can have your custom vocabulary, so in case you have specific terms for your industry, you can add it to the service. And actually, this is available for some additional services as well. And custom vocabulary is going to be used for the transcription. Recently, we introduced streaming transcription for Transcribe. Up until several months ago, it worked only in batches. So you uploaded the file and ran the process, and at the end of the process, you got a transcription in a text file. Now you can actually do both HTTP2 and WebSockets and do streaming transcription on the fly. I have a demo coming up in a few minutes that will show you exactly that. How do I do real-time transcription? And this can be useful for many use cases, like having automated subtitles for your video without knowing anything about what people are about to say. I'm going to show you to you in a second. RingDNA is one of our customers that introduced this capability into a call center. So they're providing call center as a service, and one of the features they introduced is the ability to turn on Transcribe and do transcription of the different services, of the different calls on their platform. And once again, relatively easy to integrate. They're still using the batch mode because this was introduced more than a year ago. But in theory, they can now move to do real-time with the new WebSockets API and HTTP2. So that was Transcribe. Next one is Translate. So Translate is as simple as translating text from one language to another. It's available in 32 languages. We keep adding languages very frequently, and 987 combinations between those languages. It's almost any language that we support. There are some use corner cases that they are not supported, but most of the combinations are supported from one language to another. It's very fast, close to real time. I'm going to show you live translation. You're going to see how fast it is, so you can actually integrate it into your applications. The response is coming very, very fast. Relatively very cheap to integrate. It can understand tags. So if you're taking, for example, an HTML file or an XML file or anything like that, it will know to translate the content only without touching the tags. So you can take the entire page, send it to translate, get it back, and display the results, and it will still work with all the rendering and all other things. Very easy to use. I'm going to show you an example in a second. This is just a very simple example. Tap onto my clicker. A very simple example of Translate, giving text in one language on one side, getting it in another language on the other side. This specific example is in Dutch, I think. And OK, now I got my clicker back. And this is how you use it. And actually, this is how you use most of those services. This is from the command line from the AWS CLI. So all I do, I call the AWS Translate Text API. I provide a few parameters like the text, the source language, and the target language. I don't have to specify the source language. Source language can be auto-detected. And in this case, what I get back is the response that will include both the translation, and in this case, it would give me the source language that was English as part of the response to my request. This is a CLI example. Here's an example in Python. So if you're writing Python, that should be pretty straightforward and simple. I'm importing Boto 3. This is our standard library for AWS services. And from that moment on, I'm creating a client for Translate and basically doing a call, an API call with translate.translateText, providing the parameters of text, source language, target language, and so on. Once again, I don't have to specify source language, same as the CLI. The outcome of this will be something like that, the translation of hello world to all the languages I specified there. This is a relatively old demo, and there are much more languages than what is In here, you can get the code from my GitHub repository. Actually, all the demos I'm doing here today are available on GitHub. Just go to Ziniman, look for the specific example, and you can fork it, make it your own, play with it, destroy it, whatever you want. Okay? So Translate is being used by a lot of customers. I'm going to give you a few examples later on. A very interesting one is Lionbridge. Lionbridge is actually a professional translation company. And they were looking for ways to reduce the cost of translation for their customers. So they're starting to use Amazon Translate. As I said at the beginning of my presentation, it might be not perfect, and it might not translate the same way. Actually, I'm sure it's not translating the same way a professional translator is doing it. But for the first pass, before a human is going and make it really high-quality translation, Translate provide very good results for Lionbridge, and they were able to reduce the cost for their customers by 20% by just switching to an initial translation by one of our machine learning services. So now, let's play with it a bit. So I want to show you a very short demo of a website I built. You can actually try it yourself. Don't do it now because I have a capacity limit there for five concurrent sessions, so it won't work for me. But you can go later on to voice.boaz.cloud. This is a very simple website. Looks something like this. Actually, by the way, this is my GitHub repository, so you can get everything from here. So this is the website. I can choose a source language that I'm going to speak at, and I can choose a target language for the transcription and translation. And let's say I'm switching to German, okay, because we're in Berlin. What it will happen when I start my mic, I can talk to my laptop. It will pick up my sound, will transcribe it on the fly using WebSockets, and on the other end will do real-time translation to the language I just selected. So let's start it. This is a test of Amazon Transcribe. Let's see. You see that? Pretty good, right? So I can change to another language. So for example, what we said here, Russian, right? We have Russian speakers. So Russian, use Russian. Let's clear it. I hope the Russian example will work as well. Where's the Russian speakers? Good enough? Not good enough? Like really bad? You can get it, right? Like, I don't read Russian. I can understand Russian, but I don't read Russian. And as you can see, this is happening in real time. I didn't prepare any of those sentences, and you can try it yourself and see the response time. This is what I was referring to as the speed of both services, both the WebSocket, the Transcribe, and the translation. I'm going to show you a few more examples later on, doing some real-time translation with another demo. So as I said before, you're more than welcome to get this demo. It's on GitHub. Play it, change it, make it your own, or just play with voice.boaz.cloud and try yourself to see what are the results. There is a link on this web page to the GitHub repository, so you don't have to remember it by heart. Moving forward, Amazon Comprehend is another service, and this is a very interesting service because this service can get insights from text that you give the service. So you can have text coming from different resources. It can be emails, it can be documents, it can be feeds from social media, it can be reviews coming from your website or anything else. You can send these text to Amazon Comprehend, and Amazon Comprehend will give you information regarding this text, like entities, key phrases, what's the language of the text. So it can detect many languages just to say that this text was written in a specific language, sentiment, and you can even do grouping. And grouping is a very cool feature. Let's take, for example, that you have a pile of documents, some kind of an archive, that you have no indexes whatsoever, you don't know what's in there. You just point the service, you point Comprehend to this folder, let it run for a while, depends on the size of your repository, and after it will finish scanning all the documents inside the repository, you're going to get an index file saying this document is on this topic, this document is on that topic, without you specifying anything regarding the content. It will find out the topics on its own and will actually be able to use them as the index for your service. So if you have a very long history of documents that you don't know what's going on there, you can actually run comprehend on this folder and get the results. Here's an example how to use comprehend. So I would like to get sentiment analysis for reviews I'm storing inside an S3 bucket. So an S3 bucket, one of our storage services, I can store their files, and I'm storing reviews of customers. And I want to know if the review is positive, negative, neutral. I can run this code, which is pretty straightforward and simple, defining my bucket as the resource, defining comprehend client, and then looping to the different objects inside my S3 bucket, taking the text, and then using the text in this API call, comprehend the text. What happened? Siri. Using this comprehend the text sentiment, providing the text, providing the language, and printing out the response. All the services are providing you the response in JSON format, so very easy to work with. Usually, you're getting, in addition to the result of translation or transcription, you're getting a confidence score that you can use. So if the confidence score is low, you might want to send it to another analysis or something like that. So you can definitely use it. And I don't know how many, 15 lines of code to analyze all the reviews coming in from your customers all over the world in different languages, by the way, that can support multiple languages. Last but not least, Amazon Lex. So Amazon Lex is a service that we build to allow developers to build chatbots in a very easy way. You can guess by its name that it's a close relative of Alexa. Yeah, just remove the A's from both sides, you're going to get Lex. And the idea is to provide you a very simple interface to build your chatbots. Chatbots today are super popular in many different use cases. You have contact center chatbots. I'm going to show you one in a second. Application chatbots that actually do things like booking hotel rooms or tickets or flights or anything like that. IoT. I'm constantly talking to my Alexa and to other devices to turn them on, off, get information coming out of them, and of course, many other examples. So a very simple example is to take this process of booking an hotel room and converting it into a chatbot, and in this case, converting it into a Lex chatbot. So the process is pretty straightforward. I need to find out first, what do I need as a minimum input to book an hotel? So what do I need? Destination? Check-in date, check-out date, maybe some others like level, chain, and some stuff. But let's say the minimum needed is city check-in and check-out. This is going to be defined as my slots. Slots are variables that I'm going to use later on to actually make the booking. And then I can create this flow that will help me to get this information from the customer. The customer will say, I book a hotel in NYC. The automatic speech recognition will take this sentence and break it into the different parts, and then NLU will understand that I'm talking about booking an hotel in New York City. I already have my intent, booking an hotel, and the first slot of New York City. Then I'm creating the conversation between the bot and the customer to get the rest of the slots. The next question of the bot will be probably, when would you like to go? Or what is your departure date, or what is your check-in date, or something similar. Get this information, get the information of checkout, and then when you get all the needed slots, you are going and calling some kind of a backend. It can be a Lambda function, it could be a third-party service API, or it can be any of your services providing the service, the different slots, and actually going and booking your hotel. You can add very sophisticated flows like confirmations for both the booking, the intent itself, and so on, and reply to the user, your hotel is booked for November 30. And everything is happening in a relatively simple interface. And one of the nice things about Lex is that you can take this bot you just built in Lex, export it, and start using it as an Alexa skill. So if you want to have another interface, you can take Lex, export, put it in Alexa Developer Console, and start building your skill from this bot, which has all the flow. You just need to connect it to the different Alexa components, which is going to save you a lot of time if you need a solution for both of them. Lex, by the way, supports both modes of text and speech. So you can build bots that are typing bots and bots that people can actually talk to. You can integrate it with different third-party tools. You can have this bot running inside Facebook Messenger, your own APIs, Slack, which is super popular, by the way. And this will give you a very good start for your Alexa skill as well. So these are the different services, and actually we have a lot of different examples of customers using those services and creating pretty amazing things. So I gave you a few of those examples, but I want to talk about a very specific use case that many of our customers are using, and this is modernizing their contact centers. So contact centers is a huge enterprise application in many companies, that many companies invest a lot in those applications. And those tools of AI, the AI services, really help those customers to improve the quality of service and the capabilities of their call centers. And actually, some of them are using a service called Amazon Connect, which provide our customers a call service as a service, a call center as a service that you can launch in a few minutes. So if you need a call center solution, you can go launch Amazon Connect, define it, claim some local numbers, and start building your content flows inside Amazon Connect. And this is all nice and very useful for many use cases, but one of the most powerful features of Connect is the ability to integrate this service together with other AWS services. So in context of this session, I would like to talk about the integration of Connect, our managed call center, with services like Amazon Lex that will help you to provide chatbot capabilities to your call center, connecting it with the bot you just built, or taking the calls, running the voice through Amazon Transcribe, getting a transcription, run Amazon Comprehend to take sentiment or analyze it in a different way, and then run analytics. So you can very easily create a system that will let you query your database for sentiment of the calls with your call center. And this is relatively easy to do with those services, and this is basically a very big Lego that you need to plug and play stuff. And I would like to show you a demo of a call center I created. You can actually call these numbers. There's a German number over here that will go and take Amazon Connect, connect it into a backend I created that reads a database that includes all my future talks. And each time you're calling this number, you're actually going to get my next talk in line. Okay, it's fully automated if you want to catch me somewhere in the world. So for that, I'm going to actually call somewhere. This you can try on your own. So I have our internal voice over IP call system. I'm calling, this is the German number, right? 31? But it doesn't matter. All the numbers will give you the same results. See? Calling? Yeah.
Welcome to my demo. Please select language. For English, dial 1. For German, dial 2.
So I'll do English
for
for the
Spanish,
beginning.
dial 3. For Dutch, dial 4. For Russian. Hi and thanks for calling. Stay tuned while I check for next session of Boaz Ziniman. Next session for Boaz Ziniman is Introduction to AI/ML on October 29th at 11:30 in AWS Floor 28 Tel Aviv. Thanks for using the demo. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Nice, right? And this was in English. As you heard already, it supports several languages, so I can support any language that is supported by Translate and Poly. Let's call it again. This time we'll do it in German.
Welcome to my demo. Please select language. For English, dial 1. For German, dial 2. Spanish, dial 3.
Hallo und danke für den Anruf. Bleiben Sie dran, während ich nach der nächsten Sitzung von Boaz Ziniman suche. Die nächste Sitzung für Boaz Ziniman ist Einführung in IML am 29. Oktober um 11:30 Uhr in AWS Floor 28 Tel Aviv. Vielen Dank für die Verwendung der Demo. Auf Wiedersehen.
How was that? Can you get what was said? Okay. So the point is that my entire system is English-based. I don't store anything in other language than English, all the sessions, everything else. And actually not even the voice that except for the beginning, that is not translated. Everything else is translated in real time. So I'm using here translate and a backend used in Amazon Lambda to actually being able to do something like that. So if you want to see the architecture of something like this, so I have my Amazon Connect instance with the different numbers. You can actually claim numbers in other countries as well. Each time I'm getting a call, I'm gonna route the clicks of the user, the click of the language into Amazon Lambda. Amazon Lambda will go query my database, send the information from the database to translate, create a sentence in the new language, send it to Polly, and Polly will play it in Amazon Connect. And this is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And I can add new languages in no time. So for me now to add a new language for this system is basically changing the code in two places. One is in Connect to introduce a new keypad stroke for the new language code. Let's say I would like to add Arabic. I need to add 8 for Arabic. I need to add it in Connect, and I need to add it in Lambda. That's it. I need the Lambda to understand that 8 is Arabic, and I'm done with adding a new language. Now, think about it for a second. The power of having something like that for a company's call center, the ability to add languages in 5 minutes, is basically allowing this company to reach new audience that were not able to use their service before because of language barriers in practically no time. And this is one of the advantages I'm talking here in these different services, the ability to reach more customers in a better way, provide them a better service. And actually, we see that a lot happening with those language services. So I already spoke about Lambridge and Ring DNA, but I want to talk for a second about Hotels.com. So I assume you are familiar with Hotels.com, one of the biggest online hotel booking services. And Hotels.com starting to use Amazon Translate to translate their pages to different languages. And yes, as you said during the session, as you saw during the session, some of the translations are not 100% accurate, but they are good enough for people to book an hotel, to understand which services this hotel provide, what are the terms, the cost, and so on and so forth. And the fact that now they can reach millions of new customers just by implementing a very simple to implement few lines of code service allow them to do something like that in practically no time. And actually, the combination of those different services brought me to think about something very interesting. So how many of you are familiar with the bubblefish? Come on, you should all raise your hand. Come on. Even if you're not. So the idea of the bubblefish is coming from the Hijacker Guide to the Galaxy from Douglas Adams. Is a fish-like device, like it said here, that you plug in, you put into your ear, and it will translate everything you hear, no matter which language it was said in, to a language you understand. Okay? So now with those services, I can actually create a bubblefish in a very easy way. So think about it for a second. If I have a person speaks in English, I can take this voice and transcribe it into text using Amazon Transcribe, then taking Amazon Translate and translating it into German, and then using Polly to say it in German. That's a bubblefish, one-to-one. So I did not create a bubblefish, but I created something else that is called the bubble chat. Want to try it? Of course. Take out your phones. This is a session that you can actually use your phones. You can scan this QR code or go to chat.boaz.cloud. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. And I'm going to show you a very interesting chat application. We're good? I'll give you 2 more seconds. Scanned. If not, chat.boaz.cloud. It's a pretty simple URL. So here's my chat application. So, loading. Oh, hello, Boaz. So you can chat as much as you want. There are limits here as well, but I hope we won't hit them.
In my own language?
So this is exactly what I would like to say. So you can choose the language you want to get the chat in. Okay? So for example, if you choose German, everything that anybody in the chat will write will be translated into German. If you choose Russian, it will be translated into Russian. If I'll choose Hebrew, which you won't understand, but it's going to be fun. Here's somebody writing in Hebrew. Nice. Hi, Tim. So I will Translator error, I have no idea why. So I just switched to Hebrew and drop, yeah, try it. SQL injection is always a good idea to try new services. So I moved it to Hebrew, and suddenly everything you say in at least 5 different languages I already counted is coming to me in Hebrew. Okay? And this is real time. And I can write now in Hebrew, and you will get it in your own language. I didn't put my name. That's always an issue. Okay, so I wrote this one from Boaz, and I assume you got it translated into your language. Okay? Oh, a lot of Hebrew speakers in the audience. That's nice. So you can keep chatting. I'm going to show you how this works behind the scenes. So basically, I took a chat that was created by one of my colleagues, a guy named Danilo. He created several years ago, actually like 2 or 3 years ago, a chat based on AWS IoT Core. You will probably ask yourself, why do we use AWS IoT Core to create a chat application? The main reason for that was that that was one of the only services in AWS that supported WebSockets back in the days. Now I can change it to use API Gateway with WebSocket support. Probably I need to do that, but I kept it as is. I just plugged the entire translation feature on top of his chat. So each time you're sending a message, it's going to AWS IoT Core. It's actually being stored there. It triggers a Lambda function that will store this information, the chat you just wrote, into a DynamoDB database. And then it will send back the chat line to all the clients connected to this specific chat channel. And then for each one of you, and this is not the best architecture, but it makes a very good point of how easy it is to integrate it on the client side, I'm initiating a call to Amazon Translate to translate the specific sentence inside your browser. I'm not doing here any caching, and I probably should, but your browsers are basically initiating a request for Amazon Translate based on the language you put in the dropdown for each one of the sentences, and you getting the reply already translated. And as you can see, 4 AWS services and a very useful application that you can try and build your own. Just think about the options of using something like that for support centers. Let's say you have a support center here in Germany with only German-speaking support technicians, and they can actually provide support for people all over the world for all the languages we have in Amazon Translate. Sounds like a pretty good application, something I would like to invest in. Maybe I should open a startup for this. So, as I stated before, there are many different services and many different options for you to go and build those applications. And actually, I just wanted to give you some ideas where to start. All those services are pretty simple to integrate. You saw that in Python, but as I said before, we support many different languages. We probably support the language that you are developing in. And integrating them into your application shouldn't be too hard, no matter which language you use. And I'm sure you can come up with great new ideas, what to do with it, how to integrate it, how to reach new audience. And this is exactly the idea of breaking language barriers with AI. How do I use this technology to create better solutions, better applications, better websites? And hopefully, I gave you some interesting ideas. So that's what I had to show you today. Don't forget to rate this talk in the app. I was told to say that. Very, very important. Thank you very much for listening.